Welcome everyone to the March Ōtorohanga Community Board meeting. We'll start off with the apologies. We've got an apology from Peter Coventry. He's been a little bit under the weather this week and isolating, so he's not here today. So apology from him. No other apologies because everyone else is here. Do we have a mover and a seconder that his apology is received and accepted? Councillor Christensen and Board Member Buckman. Declarations of conflicts of interest. Has anybody got a declaration of a conflict of interest today in regard to any agenda items? I imagine not, because there's not much on there. No. Public forum. I haven't had anyone for public forum today. Don't think. Mark, do you know?
No, we haven't had anybody. Is that right, Kaya?
Absolutely, we have no members.
Sweet. Okay, confirmation of minutes from the February meeting. There was a little bit of a glitch, so these were a little bit late getting out. But yeah, do we have mover and a seconder that those minutes be received? Of all people who have their phone on silent. Do we have a mover and a seconder that the February minutes be received? Kat Brown-Merrin and Councillor Dowd. Any items arising from those minutes? No. Okay, item 78, Chairperson's verbal report. Yeah, I'd like to kick off with a massive thanks to all the council staff and whatnot, especially there's quite a few new staff who are really filling in a few roles and whatnot. And from my point of view, I feel there's a lot of streamlining and communication that's really on the improve, and it's really awesome to see. Massive shout out to Kaya. She's certainly making my job a lot easier, just with a few bits and pieces. One of which is the run sheet that I got in front of me, which is a fantastic improvement. I think Max has probably had them for the last 6 months, but we're getting there. Yeah, so once again we're on Zoom, which isn't ideal. I certainly don't enjoy it. I'd much rather be in the chambers, but just looking at the stats earlier, 23,000 cases today in New Zealand, which brings us up to 146,000 in total, which absolutely blows my mind how quickly this is all exploding and whatnot. So, you know, think about it, 23,000 cases just today, that's 7 times the population of Ōtorohanga just today. So yeah, the old COVID's certainly running rampant and whatnot. So yeah, obviously everyone stay safe, you know, social distance, mask up, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's getting pretty carried away. Yeah, with that, the whole economy of the town's certainly going to be struggling a little bit, especially with couriers and freight issues and whatnot. Yeah, so if everyone out there can just have a little bit of patience and whatnot. I know that's a very stressful time of the year with summer seasons and May seasons and everybody going flat knacker. I know that Rodney's probably going flat knacker, trucking everything around the country. But yeah, there is some serious freight issues and whatnot going on. So if everyone just can have a bit of empathy out there and around the place, then yeah, everyone can try and smile a little bit better, because yeah, everybody's getting a little bit stressed out. And with the town concept plan, massive thanks to Ross for keeping that cranking on, keeping on rolling on. I don't know how many board members have been to the drop-in at the Gilguide Hall that's on at the moment. It's all about mapping Ōtorohanga. So if you haven't been there, drop on down there, call in. You know, obviously with COVID and whatnot running rampant, stay safe and all the rest of it. And any members of the public and everyone who's out there, drop on down to the Gilguide Hall. I think it's the first part of the community part of the consultation and whatnot, and the direction, and it's going to lead us in the right direction as to where we want to go with the town concept plan. It's really quite interesting. It's really quite awesome, and what the consultants are putting together is really neat. So yeah, get on down to the Gilguide Hall, have a look, have a nosy, and get your 2 cents worth in. That's all from me today. We've got a mover and a seconder that my report be received. Councillor Christensen and Kat, all in favour?
Aye.
Item number 79, Ōtorohanga Town Concept Plan. I'll hand it over to Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, board members and councillors. I'd like to apologise for the volume of information I've thrown at you, but I won't, because it's critical for the successful delivery of this this project. So the 3 deliverables that the consultants were responsible for in this project establishment phase are the execution plan, the communication and engagement plan, and the project program, and they have been included in your agenda. Think of those as a framework that provide direction but retain enough flexibility that we can adapt and pivot as the project proceeds. So, Mr. Chair, you mentioned COVID. So COVID's clearly a key risk that we're having regard to as we move through this project. It includes the risk around key personnel, but also our ability to fully and completely engage with our community. So in that regard, members may be aware that we had signalled an earlier start to the wider community engagement for the project, but having regard to both COVID and the timing of Easter and the school holidays, we've decided that it's better to push out the start of that broader engagement with the community until after Easter and the school holidays. So it gives us a bit more time to prepare, but importantly, with COVID numbers being as high as they are and the peak apparently arriving sooner than the health experts had forecast, by the time we get to that phase of our project, COVID should be well through, or at least the peak should be well through. So I'm anticipating the limitations to having larger numbers of people in meeting and engagement spaces may have lessened somewhat. But as I say, we just need to be open and mindful that things could change at any time, and we need to be flexible and adapt in that regard. The other attachment that I included was the community profile. So that was an interesting exercise putting that together, and quite an important sort of base to start this project. So it really is about who we are as a people, as a community, you know, what we are in terms of our business activity and economic activities, and some information around place and, you know, the landforms and features that we see. The thing that probably is the most, I guess, interesting, if you like, in terms of that profile is the most up-to-date generally is already out of date, because, for instance, the timing of the release of more detailed information from each census is usually 18 months to 2 years after the census. So the data that is still the most up-to-date is now getting on for the best part of 3 years old. So while we've included additional information, for example, around population estimates, a lot of the other information is still very much rooted in 2018. And the other thing that's interesting is I had anticipated that we should be able to have created a much more detailed profile, particularly around some of those broader social wellbeing indicators, but the data's either not readily available or is not available at a community level, which means that, again, we don't quite have as full a picture of our community as we might otherwise have liked. Be that as it may, I think it's a useful basis to support the project, and in particular the growth projection information, which will be useful when we come to develop the growth strategy as part of the town concept plan document itself. So looking ahead to the next month, so there's still the last of that base information and supporting material to be developed, and a lot of that will lead us into that engagement phase. And we're now turning our attention to preparing and communicating information about the project to the community. And one of the key tools there, we are looking at an information sheet, two-sided A4, that would distribute to every household within the town area. So we feel it's, if we want to engage community at the level and to the depth that we want for a successful outcome, the starting point for that is to get information directly into the hands of the community about what the project is and how they can be involved in that project. And then the other work that particularly the consultants are doing is starting the base level analysis to support the delivery of 3 of the key outputs, which are the transport assessment, the town entry points, and the community facility needs assessment. So we'll have some further updates and more detail at our next update for the board. I'm happy to take questions, Mr. Chairman, but I do want to spend a little bit of time discussing with board members the role of the board and its members in this project. But if we can maybe park that just for the moment, and if there are any questions around the report and the attachment, might be best to deal with those first.
No, fully agree with that, Ross. So is there any questions, queries, comments on that report or anything coming out of that report by anyone? Has everyone read the report?
No, sorry.
I think, Mr. Chairman, it's fair that given the volume of information in the report, I'd suggest that board members treat it as a reference document, and when they've got time, just to go in and just familiarise themselves around some of the key components in terms of what we're doing, but also how we're rolling that out.
Yeah, fully agree with you there, Ross. One thing that I did notice is there are actually a few good statistics in there just to really show that Ōtorohanga is actually doing really well.
Yes.
There's a few employment stats which probably a credit to quite a bit of hard work by a mayor that's sitting in the Zoom group at the moment. Regional, national is 1.6 and we're at 1.8, so that's pretty neat, and certainly would grow even further if we could find staff to fill jobs. Seems to be the common problem. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that's in there is really quite interesting. Yeah, if you haven't read that report yet, have a good look. It's very varied, and there's a lot. There is a lot to take in, and there is a lot in there to read. But yeah, have a read. You won't be able to remember it all off by heart, but yeah, it's certainly a very good reference document. Thank you very much for that, Ross. No other further questions or anything in regards to that? Right. So Ross, did you, with the second part of that in regard to the roles,
Role of the board?
Yeah, did you want to do that in workshop afterwards?
I can maybe outline it. It wasn't so much, Mr. Chair, looking for specifics in terms of feedback now. It was more setting the scene, and then over the next couple of weeks, maybe agreeing on some of the detail around how the board might engage in the role it might play in this project. So if you like, I mean, we could potentially continue the conversation later, but I'm just as happy to let members sort of percolate on it and then come back. So there's nothing kind of sinister or secret. It's really something that probably is better reflected on and then come back. But waiting until the next meeting would be, I think, too late. So if you're happy for me to kind of set it out and let's see where things go in terms of questions and comments and so on. So in terms of the board wanting to take the lead role, there are three elements or aspects to it. The first is communications, the second is engagement, and then the last one is promotion, and they're all interrelated. So if I just talk about communication, so one of the things that we will want to do during the course of the project is to get information out to not only the community but the wider public about the project, what it is, and how people can get involved and engaged in the various phases of the project. So, and this might be something that you do alone, Mr. Chair, and that is, as we put together things like media statements and information packs, that it will be useful to have, you know, quotes from yourself and potentially His Worship the Mayor and members of the board. So this is, I would think, perhaps a more straightforward component of the project, and that's really just working with you principally around, as that information needs to be pulled together, that you're very much in the loop in terms of your voice and your presence in terms of that communication to our community and wider, because remember, it won't just be people within Ōtorohanga Township that potentially will want to share some ideas and thoughts. I mean, we could get them from anywhere. So as soon as you put out a media release, it could be picked up regionally, nationally, or even internationally. So that was the first aspect. The second one, and this is the one that potentially members will need to give consideration to, because it's the one that potentially involves a fair amount of their time, and that's the engagement space. So we have potentially around 10 sessions or up to 10 sessions where we want to be engaging quite fully and deeply with our wider community, as well as groups within the community. And in my view, it would be important for members of the board to be present at those sessions. And it's not something that I'd suggest that every member of the board needs to be at every session, but if we draw up a program and work out, you know, which members potentially would come to which sessions, I think that would be quite a useful way forward. These will generally be open sessions, so if every member of the board wants to come along, then that's fine. Equally, if His Worship the Mayor and councillors want to come along, that's fine too. But I think, given the board are wanting to take a lead role, I think it's important that that's reflected in terms of board member participation and leadership in those sessions. Will be supported throughout by the consultants, so it's not as though board members will have a role in dealing with, you know, any of the technical matters that come up. It's more around having a presence, supporting the process, and helping contribute to it. So the suggestion is to kind of wrap that up in a program, and then circulate that to members so that you've got a sense of what these things are and when they're scheduled, and so you can start thinking about your availability. I would suggest at this stage it'll be a mixture of after hours and during the day, because we do want to make sure we provide opportunities for everyone. And then, of course, we've got the two advisory groups, the General Community Advisory Group and the Mana Whenua Group. And again, those are sessions that are potentially open to board members and councillors as well. So those sessions aren't open to the wider public, but are important sessions in terms of being able to provide potentially free and frank advice to support the project and the development of the town concept plan document. So remember, the role of the group is really to help ultimately feed into the process and what we'll see the development of the draft plan, which will then be open to community engagement and consultation. And then the last is promotion. So that's really your role and visibility in the community as board members, promoting the project, raising awareness within and across the community about the project, you know, potentially dealing with queries or passing queries on, and obviously encouraging people to get along to various sessions. So we will be setting up an online sort of information base, frequently asked questions type thing, and some of the documents that you've had in your agenda today, but we're also we'll have a dedicated email address for the project, so people who have got queries and questions can fire those off, and we'll get responses back to people. So that was the outline of what I'd like board members to consider. Happy to have questions and a discussion about that, but as I say, would follow that up with a bit more detailed information, particularly around a program on the engagement. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, Ross. So everyone sort of grasp the concept of where we're heading, what we're doing. You know, just to reiterate, we don't need everybody at every session, and we don't need everyone to attend every session. But yeah, we certainly need a fair representation of the representatives that we are the representatives of the community, and we do need to represent them. So this is our big opportunity to get out there and to really get some of the community's feedback and whatnot, to really see what we can do with this town concept plan and really get a good plan to shape this town as to the next few years. So any further questions, queries? No. Sweet. So Ross, there was just that last note about Michelle. If you want to, do you want me to touch on that, or do you want to touch on that, or?
Yes, I'm happy to touch on that. So when the idea of the community advisory group was coming together, the significance of the district development board became apparent in terms of the scope and focus of key elements of the town concept plan project, and particularly the need to focus on what I'll say is the commercial or retail area of the town, and the role of the board in terms of its work with and connection with businesses and other organisations in that central area made it an obvious candidate for representation in or through this project. And I have to apologise to the board that at the last meeting I should have signalled that, but there was an oversight on my part, and the board did though pass a general approval around being able to add additional members to the advisory group. So that's the context to that.
Awesome, cheers, Ross. Rodney, you got a question there? No. Okay, so can we have a mover and a seconder? Yeah.
Yep, I'll move. Give me something to do.
Settle down. A mover and a seconder that the Ōtorohanga Community Board receives this report and the project support documents, which includes the exclusion plan, the communication engagement plan, the project plan, the draft community profile, and we've received the notes about Michelle Hollands joining the community advisory group. We have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Rodney, seconded by Katrina. All in favour? Thank you. Right, item number 81, routine district library report. Heather, is there a Heather in there? Heather, we'll hand over to you.
There is a Heather in here, but have you skipped the report before mine?
All right, I have to.
Building control manager?
Yep. Item 80, actually. Routine building control report. Phil.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I don't think Phil's online. So in the absence of building control, I'll present this report. It's a routine building report for the last quarter. You're more than welcome to ask any questions. I don't think I'll have all the answers, but I'm sure I can record those and get them to you. Otherwise, yeah, I'll just present that on behalf of the building control team.
Any questions from any members of the board? Comments? No questions or comments, queries from me, but it is quite fantastic to see in that boarding report there. There is quite a few big projects and whatnot happening in town, as many of us already knew about. But yeah, to see it on paper, you know, a few of the big projects are coming to completion and whatnot, which will once again require more staff, require a bigger town. You know, it's all just progress. So quite excited. Do we have a mover and a seconder that report be received? Councillor Christensen and Kat Brown-Merritt. All in favour?
Aye.
Now we'll go to item 81 and hand over to Heather.
Lovely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. So this is my report spanning the time from October through to January this year. And as you can see, there's a familiar theme showing through with COVID affecting us quite a lot during that period. So we did spend a large sum of that time locked down, and it's clearly reflected in the usage stats at the end of the report as well. Probably one of the most positive things to come out of that, though, was that we were able to start a clicking courier service. So we had one staff member who was coming in. People went online and placed holds, or they were ringing because I'd had the phone diverted. They would ring and we would take their call, select books for them, or they put them on themselves. Staff member went in, got the books off the shelves, bagged them up and couriered them out to their place. So able to be done completely contactlessly. And you'll see that during October, November, we issued nearly 1,900 items just to our Ōtorohanga members. And I think that's an amazing stat that we were able to get through in a service we were able to provide during that time in lockdown. And the anecdotal feedback we got has been really positive around that. We actually carried on offering that click and courier after we reopened, because as you know, we still had a lot of cases in the community, and you know, some people quite hesitant to get back out in the community if they had underlying health issues and that type of thing. And again, that was really well received. Yeah, COVID impacts some of our planning, so a few of our wee projects have been pushed back, but we're getting those back on track now, and so that's been really good. We've done some amazing work in collaboration with Waitomo District Libraries around our children's program, and we'd learnt from the lessons of the winter program where it was impacted when we did lockdown. And so we actually designed the program that had we been forced back into another lockdown, the kids could still do it from home. So it wasn't entirely reliant on being able to physically get into the library. And that was really well received. And we had 42 children register across the district, 19 of them completed. We had some really great local prizes. So we did backyard bingo, and we decided our prizes should be in our own backyard. So we had prizes like a caves trip for the family, vouchers to the leisure park. Hats off to the chap there who donated a whole heap of vouchers, vouchers for family swimming groups, swimming vouchers for the day, and that type of thing. So really bringing our prizes back into our backyard. And thanks to the Kiwi Leisure Park, we were actually able to put together 6 packs of prizes, and we'd initially thought we'd do 2, but they were so generous with their sponsorship that it grew. We've just actually finished the evaluation of that, and the feedback's been very, very positive from both the parents and the children. So, sorry, that wasn't very. We in the middle of coming back after the last lockdown, we started our radio frequency identification project. So we actually have to go and take all the books off the shelf one at a time, put a little tag in them, the radio frequency tag. So it's quite a bit of work. Just that physical handling of every book, and we've actually been making good strides through that. So that was really great. Says here with the mobile shelving, we were waiting for the delivery date when I actually wrote this report, and you may have seen by the fact that you all turned up the other day that the shelving has actually come. It's been installed, and I'd really welcome you to come into the library and have a look at the new layout. We're really excited about it. Again, we're getting really, really positive feedback from our members around it. And that new shelving being up on wheels is going to allow us that flexibility within our layout to continue to grow our programs and shrink and grow space as we need it for those sort of events. Yeah, we won't talk about the stats, they're rubbish. No, I did not say that. Sorry, the stats are looking certainly a lot less than last year, but that is entirely on COVID. So any questions?
Oh, thank you for that, Heather. Any questions from the board? No, awesome. Thank you very much for that, Heather. I'm still trying to figure out how I actually enjoy a librarian's report, but your reports always are quite interesting. Apologise for not making it to the cake cutting the other day. I believe Max inhaled far too much cake, but looked like a good day. And hats off to you guys. Pretty tricky times to run a library when nobody's allowed anywhere near the place, but it looks like you guys are doing a really, really awesome job. So no, thank you very much for that. Do we have a mover and a seconder that report be received? Councillor Christensen and Councillor Dell. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Heather. Right, item 82, board member updates. Mr. Alan Buckman, you're up my top left of my screen, so we'll kick off with you.
Oh, really? Not a lot to report. Basically, just going back to where the businesses are actually hurting in town. We are in the midst of probably one of the biggest dairy booms that New Zealand has ever seen, but we are still yet to see any money coming through from that. It should come through. Ōtorohanga should do very well out of that, as long as the dairy farmers do reach into their pockets and spend some money. Just the general feeling around town of business owners is one of, I believe, of exhaustion, of having to fight every day. We got notification of couriers coming out of Auckland that their pickups will be 50% of their normal. And instead of overnight deliveries, it's taking up to 2 to 3 days to get parts out of Auckland. It's just, so it has a flow-on effect to your business, and it's just very, very hard. As of 2 days ago, my wife and I have exited Ōtorohanga and still shop Ōtorohanga. So me personally, I will be spending a lot less time in Ōtorohanga from now on. And just going forward to your comments about the town redevelopment and that sort of thing, I really need to sort of step back and let somebody else come forward and take my place. And that also flows over into the river planting as well. I really need to step back from that and let somebody else come in and take over my space. That's pretty well me done. Yeah, I suppose just a big thanks to Ōtorohanga for 17 years. It's been enjoyable. We've had ups and downs, but overall it's been pretty enjoyable. But I won't be standing for, is it the coming elections in June, July? Is that right, Neville? Is it July?
I think you'll find it's October.
October, that'll do. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know whether you guys want me to resign, but you actually can't bring anybody else in, which is. But I do need to step back from some things, especially the river planting, and somebody else to come in and take my place. Okay.
Yep, no, thanks for that, Alan. Yeah, as Alan mentioned, he's moved away from town and whatnot. There is two options. Either you can resign and leave the seat open because it's too close to. I believe it's far too close to the election to have a by-election, and then by the time we'd have a by-election and whatnot, it'd be time for the next election anyway. Or Alan can just simply say stay in the seat. So yeah, if Alan did resign from his seat, then there'd be an empty seat, or he can stay in a seat. And hey, let's face it, most of our meetings are going to have to be with Zoom for the foreseeable future while this COVID thing explodes anyway. So, Mr. Mayor Max Baxter, you got a comment to add to that?
Yeah, thanks, Neville. Look, I just want to thank you, Alan, for your contribution, which you've put into Ōtorohanga over many years, be it with the Kiwi House or the community board, or just being what you've done for the business community in town. So thank you. Let's just hope the next stage of your life is as enjoyable as your time in Ōtorohanga. Take care.
Yeah, thanks very much, Max. Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. So that's a big part of our life. So.
Yeah, no, thank you. Next one on my screen is Councillor Christensen.
I haven't got anything to add. Just yeah, you get no questions, Ross, if you're still there, because the report's very detailed, and same with Heather's report. Like, all the questions are answered. So yeah, that's really cool. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Mr. Dowell.
Just over what Katrina just said, yeah, thanks Ross and Heather and even Marcj. Well, I you already heard some of the other those reports anyway. All the best, Alan. Thanks for your time and everything you've done.
Yes, thank you.
So, yeah. And I have to sort of agree with Alan. It's trying times to run a business at the moment. We have trucks loaded, with stock to go somewhere, and then we've got to take them back to the farmers because there's not enough workers have turned up at the factories and rah-de-rah. We've had an SOS carrying milk at the moment, so obviously there's issues there. So, but hopefully, some people say it's a few weeks or 6 weeks. Hopefully they're right. But yeah, but otherwise, I think it's just a bit challenging at the moment. So yeah, I think everyone wants to go on a holiday, but we're just going to have to just hold it off for a little bit. But hopefully this year we can have a bit of a holiday somewhere. Cheers.
Ms. Brown-Mirren, Kat.
I don't have anything. I actually don't know where the last month went. It's totally flown past. I know I'm busy, but I couldn't tell you what I'm doing. And Alan, thank you. It's been great being alongside you during all this and learning everything that I have and what you've brought into the team and the council and the district. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So with that, we'll draw the meeting to a close. I'll just double check with you, Mark. The next part we'll do a workshop briefing afterwards. Yep, awesome. So thanks, everyone. It's certainly been a bizarre month.